welcome to I Have a Story to Tell on ZFM 101.9. My name is FRITZ BAFFOUR, and we have 2 hours of gripping tales from very interesting personalities. And tonight I have with me Margarita Crab-Acad, who is an educationist, an administrator, but she'll tell you who she is. Welcome to the program, Margarita.
Thank
you. Margarita, you are, I want to say you are a Ga girl of a certain color from Jamestown, British Accra. Tell us a little bit about who you are, where you were born, and a few tidbits about your early days.
Well, I was born to a Ghanaian father from Jamestown, Samuel Azukwe, and then my mother was from England, and she was called Marguerite. And they met in London at the University College of London, where they both graduated. My father was a lawyer, my mother she did sociology. And we came back to Ghana after my father was called to the bar. Temple in 1948, and I came back to Ghana. And in 1950 I was born. So that's the genesis of my beginnings.
Yeah. So you were born in Accra, and you went to school in Accra, I presume. And tell us a little bit about that.
There's a lot between being born and going to school in Accra.
All right, I want to hear that.
Just that. Well, my mother didn't last very long. When I was 3 years old, she died. And at that time, my brother was only 6 months old. And my father was in the process of being ambitious and rising through the ranks of the judiciary. So he was busy. So I was kind of left, we were left with the family to be looked after. And so, yeah, for the first 5 years of my life, I was very much a Ga girl, living in different places like Mbadi, Mamprobi, Jamestown, stuff like that. And my mother, her dying wish was that I would go to a school that she got for me in England to start my education from like primary school. So at the age of 5, I was put on BOAC, which is what was
the British Overseas Airways Corporation, it was called.
That's right, all by myself. And flew to England to start my primary schooling over there.
And if you can remember, was it intimidating getting on a plane and going as a 5-year-old from Accra to somewhere new like that?
Oh yeah, it was. I mean, but luckily in those days the air hostesses were very nice. So they looked after me, but they must have looked after me very well because I don't remember feeling frightened or anything like that. But I was met at the other end by a member of staff of the school that I was going to. And yeah, so I was always with somebody. I wasn't left on my own in any way. But this school I went to was a result of my mother. My mother was a communist.
Oh, I see.
Yes. And didn't believe in God or anything like that, an atheist, communist atheist.
All right.
How she would survive in Ghana now, I don't know, but she seemed to get away with it in those days. And at the age of, I must have been about 2, and she must have been pregnant with my brother. That's all I can say, because I don't have anything factual to refer to. She did her one and only trip back to England and took me to her, as the story goes, again, took me to her school, which she went to in London, to register me there. And they rejected me. I was the wrong color.
Really?
So she did a complete 360-degree turn and took me to a school in Hertfordshire called St. Christopher's and registered me there. And that was a school for the rich.
Okay.
It went completely against my mother's way of thinking. And apparently it was my mother's dying wish that I should be sent there. So my father did. He put me on a plane and sent me there. So I spent 6 years of my life, my formative years, in this school in Hertfordshire.
And how did it sort of mold you? 'Cause
It did mold me very much. So I feel it was good. Was good. I wouldn't change it for the world, but it did make me a bit different from everybody else. I found out there that the rich are probably as racist as any other people in this world, but because they don't feel threatened by people like me, who have no money or status or what have you, they embraced me. I was not a threat. So I never felt any racism, any bad feeling. No, nothing. In fact, it was nice. I had a good life. And the holidays, they would invite me to their homes, and I lived the life of the rich, riding horses, canoeing, cucumber sandwiches on the terrace, things like that. So that was good. But the weather, as all Ghanaians, we don't like the weather. It was horrible. And I suffered a lot in the winter. Yeah.
And so, in the 6 years that you were in school, St. Christopher's, did your father come to see you? Did you have family?
Well, I had my mother. I had my mother's family.
All right.
Who were not particularly well off. So we had this one sister of my mother's, who is the one who, shall I say, mentored my mother. My mother was the youngest of 10 children. And it was this sister who convinced my mother to be a communist, atheist kind of thing. So, but she was also, this aunt didn't have two dimes to rub together. So I couldn't spend much time with her. But my father came to visit me once. That's all he could afford to do. And then I had one trip back to Ghana for the Christmas holidays. That time he was a judge in Kumasi. And that was it. So when we did 11 plus, we didn't do common entrance, we did 11 plus. I sat 11 plus, I passed. But my father by this time thought, time for me to come back to Ghana. So he yanked me back to Ghana. And but 11 plus doesn't do anything in Ghana. So I did 1 year in Ghana International School, sat the common entrance, passed. And that's how I entered Achimota School in 1962.
Let's hold that thought. I'm talking to Margarita Crab-Akkad, who is an administrator, and she's telling us a story. She was born half English, half Ghanaian, but she's very much a Ghana girl, and she spent 6 years in Britain in the primary school, and she's telling us about when she came back and what's going to happen. But she has a playlist, so her first selection has got to be played. So what is that one, Emmanuel? Jimi Hendrix. All Along the Watchtower. Well, we had an old schoolmate of yours here too, and he had a Jimi Hendrix song, so I think it must be an Achimotan thing. All Along the Watchtower, Jimi Hendrix.
Z 101.9 FM.
Watchtower by Jimi Hendrix, the great guitarist who died a few years after he had hit the highest point of his career. And he was very much idolized by the youth in Achimota because, as I said, we had an Achimutan here some 2 weeks ago, and he was talking about Hendrix. And I grew up also very much a fan of Hendrix. But our story here on ZFM 101.9, I have a story to tell. It's a program. My name is Fritz BAFFOUR, and I've got Margarita Krabakad as my guest, and she was telling us about growing up in Jamestown. Her first 5 years, she grew up in Jamestown. Her mother's English, her father's was Ghanaian, and then she spent another 6 years in England in primary school. Came back, spent a year at GIS. Yeah, so let's talk about GIS. You St. Christopher's, and then you come to GIS for a year. What happened?
Well, if you don't mind, I'd like to go back a bit because actually it has a lot to do with what came afterwards. In
All
that,
right.
I mean, the first 5 years of my life, I don't remember it very clearly. All I know is that my grandmother, my father's mother, didn't speak any English, and his twin sister didn't speak any English. And these are the two women, basically, who brought me and my brother up. So Ga was our language. That's what we spoke. So I left Ghana at the age of 5, basically speaking Ga,
Right.
and getting away with English. And I came back 6 years later, speaking no Ga and only English. And again, my father was typical of those days whereby you only spoke English at home. So, and I guess I was lazy. I never really got my Ga back. But my brother, you close your eyes, you think you're speaking to a fisherman.
That's
so
true.
he kept it. Unfortunately, I didn't. And also as a result of which I feel so comfortable in Jamestown. Jamestown is my hometown, and I can go there any time of day, any time of night, and that's my home. I feel comfortable with that. And then moving forward to St. Christopher's in Hertfordshire, it was a Quaker school.
Right.
And Quakers are a whole different breed of religious, it's a religious movement, yes, completely different. And it was put together by some rich people, whereby they got these mansions and just put a fence around, a wooden fence around. So these drafty, very cold buildings. And they believed in toughening you up. I think that's why I must have started getting tough. Toughening you up, whereby even when the snow is thick outside, you still had to have a cold bath. And it was a vegetarian school, so no meat and stuff like that. Luckily for me, fate, God, whatever, the angels, they always come to look after you at the right, appropriate moment. And the woman who I was put into the hands of was an English lady. We took one look at each other, and I said, "That's my mother." And she said, "That's my daughter." And so she was my guardian angel for the whole time that I was there. And she was married to a Nigerian, so she was called Mrs. Abayomi. And so I merged with her family, same color and all the rest of it. And so then I come to, well, you mentioned GIS. Well, GIS, there's 1 year of GIS. But funnily enough, you see, a family that I go to stay with later on in my life, I stay with a Quaker, the head of the Quaker movement in Ghana, David Akwa.
Aqua, yes.
And his wife, Leonie Akwa, was the headmistress of GIS. So anytime she wanted someone to help her in the school, she would call me. So even though I only went to GIS for 1 year, it's like people think I was there forever. Anyway, so we now move on to Achimota. What would you like me to say about Achimota?
Tell me the whole gamut.
Well, first of all, I was a tomboy. And
All right.
Still in many ways, at heart, I'm a tomboy. So climb trees, play cricket, whatever it took, football, the gamut. And one day I jumped down from a tree and broke my ankle. So it meant I entered Achimota in the second term instead of the first term. Now, in that period of time, 3 men, apparently, attempted to kill Kwame Nkrumah, Kulugugu bombing.
Right.
One of them being called Kofi Crab. So
Yes.
that was
H.H. Kofi Crab.
that's it.
Horatio Kofi Crab.
That's the one. So headlines. So I arrive at Achimota second term with a plaster on my leg. We all had black tin trunks with the red thing on it, and then your name emblazoned in white in front. And there it was, Margarita Crab. I went through hell. I was punished for this, for the wrongdoings of this dear uncle of mine. So even though you get bullied, I arrived in the second term. They run out of bullying the ones who came in the first term, so he was fresh meat. And then not only that, I had an uncle who tried to kill the love of their life, Kwame Nkrumah. So yeah, anyway, I managed to get through. Luckily, I spent 5-6 years of my life in boarding school, so I knew how to live in the boarding school atmosphere. I survived, put it that way.
Yeah. You were in Achimota, which is one of the top schools, if not in Africa, the whole world. I mean, it's got a history, and quite a few of the greats of this country came out of Achimota. You spent 6 years there. What was it like?
Well, I'm sure the whole of Ghana is kind of tired of Achimota because it's always coming up in Achimota this and Achimota that. But the fact remains is that Achimota was unique. I believe it was one of the first co-educational schools in Ghana, and that takes me back again to the school I went to in Hertfordshire, St. Chris, in that there, being a Quaker school, the ideals of Quakerism is that everybody is equal. In the eyes of God, everybody's equal. And also, we had boarding houses, not whereby once you got into a boarding school, then you stayed there until you left the school. They had them in year groups. So I went in as the younger, 5 years, and I stayed there till I was 10, then moved up to the next boarding house. So in the first house, because we were aged between 5 and 10, we hadn't developed. Our bodies hadn't developed well. So we were brothers and sisters. And we slept in the same rooms, we bathed together, we did everything together as if we were a family living in one house. And we even went swimming. We were taught how to swim. We weren't allowed to wear swimming costumes. We had to swim naked and things like that. So I did 1 year moving up to the older house. And there, this time now we were getting, puberty was setting upon us. So the boys were in one dormitory and the girls were in another dormitory. But there was only a wall between us. And, okay, we'd had separate bathrooms and so on, but we were still kind of living together. So I grew up believing that male and female, we are one, we're the same. The only thing different is the shape of our bodies.
Right.
But in terms of intellect and what we can do and what we can't do, we're equal. Plus, of course, the Quakerism comes into it. Now I come to Achimota. It was a culture shock. Well, coming to Ghana was a culture shock. And then Achimota was another culture shock because I didn't know how to I didn't know how to wash, how to iron, how to sweep, I didn't know how to soak Gary and all this kind of, it was a learning curve. And yet, what is the word? It matured me.
All right.
It toughened me. By the time I came out of Achimota 7 years later, yeah, I mean, I'm an expert on scrubbing floors. I can scrub a whole veranda, with 1 bucket of water and it looks perfect. I can bath in half a bucket of water because that time, 1962, we had no water running through the taps because it's on a hill. So we had to go down to the swimming pool to collect water in buckets. And being a Nino, you collect water for your sixth former, then you go back, you collect water for flushing the toilets, and you go back. You collect water to come and to water the flowers, and then you go back, and then you come back with if you're lucky, your bucket of water. So you have your bath in half a bucket that evening, and then the other half is for the following morning. So Yeah, I think it's nice. Now when the water runs out, I don't mind. Give me a bucket of water. I can last a couple of days on that bucket of water. And but the trouble is, I had this thing in my head about boys and girls are equal. And it didn't sit well, I'm afraid, in Ghanaian society. And I had a few problems over that. But, well, time overcomes everything. So Achimota, and I came with a broken leg, and there was a Beatrice Offay was our house prefect, and she was an angel. That's why I said I'm lucky. Everywhere I go, I get an angel who looks after me, and she was my angel for the first year of Achimota, and she would carry me from the boarding house to the dining hall and stuff like that until my leg came out of plaster. So I'll never forget her. And so we started this life in Achimota. One of the things about Achimota which is really of interest is Nkrumah had this thing. There were two things that I remember. One was that he was also trying to close the gap between those who have the haves and the have-nots.
Yeah.
So he had people come from the hinterland being brought to Achimota to live with us. So this thing of wearing a uniform and cutting your hair and all these things, which now apparently is a big problem for debate as to whether you should or should not be forced to cut your hair and stuff like that. But he was determined that you wouldn't know when somebody was rich or somebody was poor. And I think that's where the Achimota sandals perhaps came in. I don't know.
I don't think so. Achimota actually started off as a school for everybody, and they wanted to use it to create the microcosm of a nation. Mm-hmm. And so right from the beginning in 1927, they had that, mm-hmm. And they brought in the sandals and the uniform and everything, because they thought people should be equal. Mm. I mean, there were no tribes and things like that, but the tribes were related to your culture.
Yeah.
Your cultural background, and you should be proud of where you come from and everything, not to the detriment of others. I'm not an Achimotan, but I've read a lot of books about Achimota. Yeah. My mother was an Achimotan, my father was an Achimotan, and my wife is an Achimotan. So,
wow, you're surrounded by us. We surround you.
Anyway, but this is your story, and it's very interesting because you're talking now about the debate about hair and uniforms and things like that. We'll talk about that later because you were an administrator of a school, and so we'll ask you about that. Mm. But
well, because of my background, I'm afraid you will know what my argument is going to be.
Yeah.
I believe it. I think I like the idea of conformity until you're ready. It's just like, for example, you don't have a driving license until a certain age.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to go into a bar until a certain age. Why? Because the brain hasn't developed to, I believe, to take care of you until you're a certain age. So, so also with other things, when you are not made. How can I say? You are disciplined. Rules and regulations guide you. That's a better word. To behave in a certain way. And then when you're on your own or you're old enough, then you'll let go. As to whether you decide to rebel and do the complete opposite to what you were taught, or you continue with what you were taught, it's your choice.
Yeah, they're preparing you to have an informed choice at a certain time.
Yeah.
This is ZFM 101.9. The program is I Have a Story to Tell. My name is FRITZ BAFFOUR. My guest is Margarita Krabakad. So, Margarita, any high points of Achimota? You said you were a tomboy. I'm sure that by the time you'd finished sixth form, you had lost it, and you were...
Very much so, yes.
And so you didn't play cricket and...
No, I swam.
All right.
We were very lucky. We had a swimming pool, so swimming was my forte, and then table tennis.
Oh, I see. Did you play table tennis for the school?
No, I wasn't good enough. I just enjoyed playing.
So did you make any interesting friends, and did you pick up any hobbies or anything that now impacts on your life from Achimota?
I don't know. It could be my love of gardening came from there. I don't know what it was. No, because
Did you garden? Did you have to do that in Achimota?
Oh yes, we had to do gardening.
Oh,
We
really?
had house gardening.
And
Yes.
so what did you do?
Well, we dug the garden. We dug the soil. We planted flowers. We watered them and made
Where
sure
did you
that
get
they-
the seeds from? I mean,
Oh, it's an interesting point. I don't remember. They just appeared. We put them in the ground.
so did they have inspections to find out which was the best garden and all that?
I think we did. I think we did.
This
But
is-
I can't be for sure. I think we did.
Wow.
We took a pride in what we were doing. But one of the things, when I was talking about, I learned how to scrub long verandas. That was out of punishment, not because I wanted to. That was
Yeah.
one form of punishment. Another form of punishment was digging a hole in the arboretum.
Yeah.
Pointless, completely pointless. We just dug, carried the soil up, dumped it, went back down into this hole. It was dug, filled the bucket. Okay. Maybe there was some point, but as I'm sitting here, I don't know what it was.
So you dug a hole that you didn't use for anything.
No. We probably filled it in later on, I don't
Were
know.
you punished a lot?
I think I was actually. But part of it was that I would be with a group, I think. We'll be with a group, and then they say, hey, so-and-so is coming. Everybody would jump out the windows or run away, and I'm left standing there. Even if I joined them, I stood out. In my time, those of us of mixed race were few and far between, and we kind of stood out. Now we are to a penny, like everybody else. But in those days, we stood out, and so I used to get caught all the time. Yes.
So you got punished a lot.
Yes.
Did it get back to your father? Because I'm going to ask you about your father. Your father was a very distinguished Ghanaian. He was the Chief Justice of Ghana at a certain time, the late Samuel Azukrab. And from what I gather, he must have been a strict father. So,
Yeah, he was. But you see, he got to where, I mean, I must give him some slack. I think he got to where he went by sheer determination. And from what I hear, when he was from primary school, he was determined to make it out of the ghetto, so to speak. And he didn't have that many friends. All he did was study. And he played a lot of sports. He played football for Gold Coast. He was the football captain. He went to Accra Academy, by the way.
right.
And then from Accra Academy, he did sixth form, or whatever it was, the equivalent in Achimota, which took him to do law in London, in England. And he just put his head down and studied and moved forward. And I think the same thing happened after he got married. All he could think about was how to better himself. And so he got to where he got by sheer stint of hard work.
So I was saying, when you became a little bit of a miscreant in school, did it get back to him, and how did he react to it?
Oh gosh. Well, I don't think too much went back to him. Only the major one did, where I got suspended.
Now tell us about that.
Oh well.
But telling us about it isn't waving a red banner.
No. I wasn't that bad.
All right.
I don't like conformity.
All right.
And funnily enough, when you're in boarding school, there's so much where you have to conform. And I think apparently I have my mother's character. She didn't conform, and I don't like conforming. I mean, when we say, I can only think of church, but there are other places whereby they say everybody clap, or everybody say hello to your neighbor, or everybody kneel. I can't sort of follow like a sheep and stuff. So it meant that while in boarding school, I did come up against teachers who wanted to make sure that I behaved myself. So anyway, when I had too much of all this, then I would just leave the compound. And also, because of my free spirit, I had strange people wanting to be my friend or liking to be my friend. And one was a man called Jallo, a young man called Jallo from Gambia, very rich family in Gambia. And he lived in the he had rooms in the student hostel. So I said, Gambia is celebrating its independence or whatever it was. Let's go. So it was in the night. So, of course, I left the dormitory, went behind McCarthy House, and off I went to the student hostel. And the watchman saw me and went and reported that there's some white girl leaving this thing. And, of course, they counted heads, and I wasn't there. As if I had this feeling I was going to be in trouble, because when we got to the student hostel, it was raining, so the thing didn't last too long. And then Jallo said he's going back to Achimota, to school. I said, I'm going home. I don't know why I made that decision. So I went, so at least my father knew I slept at home.
Yeah.
The next morning, he got to drive on the car to take me back to school and all the rest of it. But by that time, it was too late. I was suspended. And so my father was called. He was very embarrassed, stalked off, sent the car back for me with a note. Go and pack your suitcase in the car and find somewhere to go and stay. You're not coming home. And that was it.
So how do you solve that?
Oh, I went to stay with the moles.
Oh, okay. Won't go too much into that. Yeah. So we're on ZFM 101.9. The program here is I Have a Story to Tell. My guest is Margarita Crabacad, who's telling me of, she's a very, very strange female. I mean, but she's been my friend for a long time.
So I'm forgiven.
But I'm glad that you're telling us this, because, I mean, you know, not everybody should be straight-laced. So what's the music now, Emmanuel? Bisakede. That's one of my favorites.
Z 101.9 FM.
Selection was by Margarita Crabacad, my guest on I Have a Story to Tell on ZFM 101.9. Why did you choose that? Just as an aside, why did you choose that particular song?
First of all, the voice. He's got a good voice.
Superb voice.
Good singing voice.
Yeah.
Secondly, the theme. I don't understand a word. Well, I hear the odo and I hear the carpenter.
Right.
But as to what he's actually saying, until just recently, I don't know. Then I got someone to translate it, and in fact, it should stay in tree.
Yeah.
The English version just it's not the same. So let's just keep it as it is. And then I just like this the visuals of this carpenter and this woman who's in a wheelchair. I mean, I don't know. It just
Yes, it's a beautiful video.
Yes,
Yeah, he's one of my favorites.
it resonates with me.
Yeah. Now let's get back to Achimota.
Yes.
We'll get out of Achimota.
No, yeah, but I'd like to listening to the song. I was able to think back a bit.
All right.
Going back to my dear father, he was very strict. In other words, he brought his work home.
Yeah.
That's a lot of men do that. No, but he was also very protective of me, and I have to appreciate that. And knowing that I had come from an English kind of upbringing of that 6 years, he knew I didn't know how to do all the things that most Ghanaian children are taught to do by their parents at home or their mothers. So every weekend he sent the car with the driver to pick up my washing and then take it home for washing and ironing and brought back, and then he would swap. So as I gave him dirty washing, he would give me my nicely pressed washing from the week before. So he was hovering around me, trying to make me feel. So I guess when I do things like getting suspended, it's not very nice, is it? It's not good payback.
All right. So you were suspended, you went back to Achimota.
Yeah.
Naturally, you did the sixth form.
I did.
And were you a prefect?
No, I wasn't very assertive.
But when you were in Achimota, did you then find out what kind of vocation you wanted to, do? I mean, what did you want to do? Is that where you realized that this is what I want to do in life?
It's funny you should ask. I remember, I think it was in Form 2, somebody was asking this same question. And I remember just blurting out. I remember to this day, I'd like to be a secretary. And I was like, well, secretary? I said, well, I like things being done orderly, and the secretary makes sure that the office runs orderly. It suits me. And it stopped there. I mean, I didn't dwell on it. But because my father was so strict, I wanted to become independent. And the quickest way to get a job, to train, get a job, and be independent. And it seemed being a secretary was the quickest, easiest way to do it. But I wanted to get away from my father as well. So I applied to Kumasi Polytechnic, and they said, no, they don't take A-level holders, only O-level holders. Try Government Secretarial College. So I did. And they said, well, yes, it's a 2-year course, and when you finished, you will, it's either 2-year or 4-year course, and 2-year course, and when you finished, you will be bonded to the government for 4 years, because it's free.
Yes.
I said, I'm trying to get out of bondage, not into it. So then I went to Accra Polytechnic, as it was called then. I was accepted happily, and I did the 2-year course in 1 year. Because true, my level of academic level was a bit above the rest there.
Right.
And then I had a job waiting for me, so I went straight into work.
So where did you go to work?
Well, it was a private company called Tanya Saba, but it was a stepping stone. From them, I went to work at Cocoa Marketing Board.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so I was the PA for Herman Mould.
Okay.
Who was the
Nana Herman, yeah.
That's it. Who was the director of administration. And I lasted for 1 year. Conformity, I couldn't. They were wearing uniform. I said, but I've just left school.
It was, I think, a green thing.
No, it was orange.
Orange.
So the color of my skin doesn't suit orange. So that was out. So we had to wear uniform. And the behavior was like we're back in school. And I said, I'm trying to be independent, not go back into this straitjacket. So I lasted 1 year. And then when we got our, what's the end of year bonus?
Yeah.
It was such a pittance. I said, nah. So I found another job. So I lasted 1 year.
So where did you go after that?
I then went to work for a private company called Irwell Engineering.
Yeah.
And there it was good. The money was good. The treatment was good. The possibilities were many.
What were you doing at the World?
I was a PA.
Okay.
And then the company then took on the franchise for a vehicle, Volvo.
Volvo, okay.
So they kind of like put me administratively in charge. So I was well challenged. And I lasted there for 8 years. But meanwhile, their major source of income was they were building, they were the first ones to build crude oil storage tanks in Tema.
I see. Fabrication.
That's the one. And but as usual, government contract, you're not paid. So he was boring left, right, and center just to keep going. In the end, he collapsed. So I was given the onerous task, sad onerous task, of winding the company down.
And then after that, what did you do?
Yeah. After that, I went to go and work at the British High Commission. So I was there for some time, for 5 years or so. And at that time, the Ghanaians didn't need visas to get to go to England.
Yeah.
So the work there was quite gentle, not too much to do. In fact, I was in charge of British passports, and that cheesed me off, because there was I with an English mother. Well, I did have an English mother,
Yeah.
and I couldn't get a British passport because I wasn't born there. And here you have Ghanaians who had been, the mothers had deliberately got on a plane and dropped their children there, and they had passports.
They still do that.
Oh, but now it's not allowed. Now it's not allowed.
Oh,
No.
it isn't.
You can't just go. No, unless the father is British.
I see. So if you're a Ghanaian and your wife is Ghanaian and you have a child in England, I see.
And then my mother didn't register me when I was born. If she'd done that, I'd have been in the system.
Oh, I see.
But she
Okay.
didn't. Yeah. So anyway, then I don't know. I can't remember the politics, but all of a sudden, Ghana you had to have a visa.
That was Margaret Thatcher when you went into the EU,
That's it.
and Margaret Thatcher decided that everybody needed a visa.
That was it. And we went from a visa office on the Ring Road
Yeah.
of 1 or 2 or 3 people wandering in for passports and things like that, to the whole of Ghana thronging outside, pushing for visas. It was terrible. And meanwhile, also, the British High Commission was relocated, the consular section was relocating to their new buildings in Northridge, where they are now.
Right.
So we moved the office to there, and I became, shall we say, an expert in helping people getting visas. Because my bosses there used to say, Margarita, why do you spend so long with these applicants? And I was, because they were not filling in the forms properly. I learned how to I'm an expert at filling in forms. They weren't filling in the forms properly, and I was trying to sort of help them to get it right.
Right.
So then they took me away from there and made me the PA to the consular himself.
I see.
Yeah.
Now, what you've been telling us now is really like a CV. But what was life like after school? I mean, what social life? Where did you go? What kind of music did you enjoy? Were there parties? Because I know about the diplomatic corps and their parties and everything. So tell us about that.
That's why I'm wondering why you're even interviewing me, because I had a very strict father. I wasn't
At
allowed.
that age?
Yes, I wasn't allowed. What age?
Yeah, I mean,
Until I got married, I lived with my father.
tell us about that.
So, I mean, I did go out a bit, but not as much as one would. And then also, I think I was fighting two fronts. In that, how can I say this? Those of us of fair skin were easy targets, or shall we say, males seemed to like fair-skinned girls. So we had a bad reputation, I'm afraid, or generally speaking. And so I had to fight that one to prove that it's not the case. And secretaries, PAs, were also had bad reputation of being the side chick to the boss. Those days we called it something else, but it was side chick now. And I had to prove that as well. So in fact, when I was in Cocoa Marketing Board, one of the reasons why I had to leave was that the CEO, the CEO at that time, and I won't mention his name, was determined to get his way, and I was determined he wasn't going to get his way. So that was an issue. Yeah. So So I mean, so I found that also what was interesting, what the few times I could go to a nightclub, was I used to meet this. Dare I say this? he was a homosexual.
Right.
Are we allowed to talk about homosexuals?
Yes, you
Yeah, he's a
can.
homosexual.
Yeah.
And very nice man, American. Everybody knows him, so I won't mention his name.
I know who you're talking about.
And I felt safe with him. It was fantastic. So I could have a good night out, knowing full well that nothing was going to happen. And so that was my way of
I don't
handling
think that's strange, because I found that out when I lived in England, that if you wanted to score with a nice girl, you'd go to the gay clubs, because you find a lot of girls hanging around the gays. So
there
it was,
you go.
yes, as a student, it was something that we did. But anyway, carry on with your story. That's not your story. That's my story.
No, so but when I was working for Erwold Construction, Erwold Engineering, I was earning good money, so I bought myself a car. So I mean, I was coming up in the
And
world.
your dad allowed you to buy a car?
Yeah.
Oh, I
So
see.
his strictness wasn't to do with my lifestyle as such. It was my life.
All right.
I shouldn't go out too much, and I shouldn't this, I shouldn't that. So yeah, I mean, I was gradually getting independent. And by the way, I was determined. I want to speak Ga. So I went to my grandmother and said, "Please let me come and stay with you. I want to learn how to speak Ga." I hope I didn't offend her, but maybe she saw past it, that she knows she can't speak English, and therefore I'm coming to stay with her because she can't speak English. I don't know, but that was the reason. She can't speak English, so the only language we could communicate in would be Ga, and I'd learn it. But she said, "No, there's too many mosquitoes in this place." On
Is
hindsight,
that in Jamestown?
no, she was in Mamprobi.
Oh,
On
Mamprobi,
hindsight, I have a feeling my father had a hand in it. It was going to
Okay.
allow me to go and stay in Mamprobi. So yeah, I mean, I lived a quiet life.
But one thing I know about you is that you like to read.
I love reading.
So what time did you have to read when you were,
Well, I read before I sleep.
Do you still do that?
Yes, actually I do. I'm reading a very interesting book right now called The Caste.
The caste?
Called
What
Caste.
What is
The
it about?
caste system.
Oh, the CASTE in
Yes.
India.
Yeah. Well, it's in the world, not just India.
Okay.
The Indians call it the caste system, but the Americans have it as well. In fact,
Okay.
they taught them how to do it. No, the Germans learnt from the Americans. They also had the caste system.
We were talking about the junkers and that's fine. We're on ZFM 101.9, and the program is I Have a Story to Tell, and my guest is Margarita Crabacad. Her story is a wonderful story. A little strange, but exciting. So we'll carry on. What's the next song? Michael Jackson song. All right. So her third selection is Michael Jackson. Very eclectic, your choices. ZFM 101.9. The program is I Have a Story to Tell. I'm Fritz BAFFOUR. My guest is Margarita Crab Akkad, and she's taken us through from her early days in Jamestown to St. Christopher's Primary School in Hertfordshire in Britain, and then her time in Achimota, which was ups and downs. She's told us a little bit about her famous father. Not enough, we'll get into that later. Our Lord Samuel Azu Crab, who was Chief Justice of Ghana, and she's been telling us about after school. She was working. She trained as a secretary, and she worked in different places, including the British High Commission. Now, I was talking about the fact that telling us about where you worked and all that sounds too much like a CV, but what was Ghana like at the time? I mean, you're a lady of a certain age. You don't mention that, but you lived in Ghana at a certain time. What was that Ghana like from when you finished school? And we'll talk about the differences till you got married. What was Ghana like to you? What was the impression of Ghana?
I think I was probably coddled a bit. I mean, I was protected from the harshness of life in Ghana. So I didn't suffer. I don't think I suffered, as I'm sure a lot of people did. I mean, in Achimota, our best headmaster was
Radic?
No. Chapman Yahu.
Yes.
He was excellent. And then I think after him, maybe there was one in between, but after him came Chinabwa.
Yes, Uncle Ike.
That's it. Now, he was a sort of political appointee.
Yeah, he was a cousin of Nkrumah.
Well, there you go. And, but he had this false British accent, and so that boy can go home. I mean, it's really ridiculous. But he taught us civic education.
Yeah.
And so, we learned a lot of history of Ghana and so on. And it was in that time where we were told that there was an announcement. All those who are not members of, of the Young Pioneers, who are not member of any club, must join the Young Pioneers. Well, all of us rushed to go and join other clubs. A few decided to go and join the Young Pioneers. So I joined the Red Cross, and it was amazing. And it was time to go and give blood. Well, women aren't supposed to give blood.
Why?
At that time. I don't know why.
Okay.
They wouldn't let us give blood.
We'll find out.
Yeah. Anyway, the point is, that isn't the main story. The main story is that we did this trip to the morgue. And there were 3 dead people on the...
Morgue. Tell Ghanaians that morgue is mortuary.
Oh, so mortuary.
Thank you. Go on.
Why is there is there a difference between these two, or just two?
Morgue is more an American. The Americans will say morgue; they won't say mortuary.
Is that so?
The British will say mortuary.
Oh gosh, the English language is being destroyed. So we went to the mortuary, and there were these 3 dead bodies on 3 slabs in front of us.
Right.
And I remember it so well because one was an old man, and one I can't remember, and one was a woman who had been pregnant.
Yeah.
So they'd split her open, taken the fetus out, and were examining the fetus. I went with a group of about 10 of us, and the smell of formaldehyde.
Formaldehyde.
It was terrible. Anyway, but I was fascinated by the whole thing. So all I was doing was watching, trying hard not to gag on the smell, but watching what was going on. And then I looked around and I found I was the only one left in the room.
Everybody had run away.
Everybody had gone away. So that was anyway. So that's how I got out of not being in Young Pioneers. I guess for the Red Cross. But I'd like to. So if we go back to the time my CV when I was at the British High Commission, so I was there for 6 years, and then I fell pregnant. I've been married for 12 years, so it was sort of like historic. And I didn't work for 9 years because I was determined to bring up my own child. So I was in the house, I was at home doing private jobs, which I could do from the home. In those days, we didn't have computers and things, so it was a bit different doing things at home. And that's when I had time to help my father with the drafting of the SIB report.
Now, that's something we'll come to, because you've jumped the gun, because you told me that, you know, you left, until you got married, you were still with your father. So when did you get married? And tell us about the sequence, if you're not going to go, if it's not going to be too confidential.
Not at all. What sequence, sorry?
Yeah, you hadn't told us that you'd gotten married.
Oh, I
How
see.
did you get to getting married? You jumped the gun.
I see what you mean. Okay, yeah. My father, I have to go back a bit. My father was sent to East Africa by Nkrumah.
Yeah.
He and Sekwasha Aiden. So that, you know, Kenyatta sacked, he didn't sack, he gave what's the word?
Got rid of all the European judges.
Well, he gave them all, he gave them the chance, said either be Kenyans or get out.
Yes.
So most of them got out. And so the big gaps in the civil service. So Nkrumah lent Kenyatta two of his judges, my father and Sekwasha Aiden. So Sekwasha Aiden was the Chief Justice there for a while, and my father was second in command. And so my brother and sister, while I was in while I was in England, my father remarried. So I came back to a stepmother and a sister.
All right.
Right. So by the time my father was going to East Africa, my father got tired of his second wife. So he left her in Ghana and went to East Africa with his two children. And he left me in Ghana to stay with the Aquas,
Yes.
Mr. and Mrs. Aqua.
Yeah.
And so, so he did 2 years there, but my brother and sister stayed on to finish their primary schooling there, and then he came back. And a little while after, I can't remember the exact timeline, he was given, we went to go and stay in the Du Bois, what is now the Du Bois Center. That was our house for quite a number of years.
All right.
And it was while we were there, lots of things happened, like the Salah case and things like that, and the army came to invade the house, looking for a fugitive in our house. That was quite frightening. And then, whilst there, he was made the Chief Justice. So we moved from that house to Rangoon Avenue. It's now called something else, some foreigner's name, but it was Rangoon Avenue at that time. So my father was there for, I think, was it 4 or 5 years as the Chief Justice. And that's where I got married from. But prior to that, when we moved to that house, I'd had enough of, I was a woman, and yet I felt like I was being treated like a teenager. So I made arrangements with my good friend Mercy Pipiche, now Mrs. Bula, at Latibia Okoshia. I said, I may be coming to stay with you. Is that okay? She said, oh, fine. And you know Harry Zakor?
Very well.
Yes, well.
I was with him, I think, 2 weeks ago.
Oh, there you go. Anyway, he goes back a long way.
Yeah, he was
And I said to him, look, one day I'm going to need he had a pickup. He said, okay, no problem. So one day I rang her, I said, Harry, come and collect my stuff. And Mercy, I'm coming. She said, I'm coming. Meanwhile, I was working, I was earning good money, I had a car. And so I bought myself a fridge and a this and a that and all the rest of it. So I moved all my stuff to Mercy's house. And that's where I developed my relationship with my present husband. Then my grandmother, who lives at Latibia Okoshia and Mamprobi, is not too far apart.
Yeah.
So every week or two, let's say 2 weeks, she'd come and visit. And she would, Afe Nakai, Afe Nakai. When you're leaving your father's house, you don't go and stay with a stranger. You have to stay with relatives. So that was her moan, on and on and on.
Afe Nakai.
Oh. So in the end, after a year or two, I forget, I'm not very good at timelines, I moved out of Mercy's and I moved back to the Moles.
All right.
And then Parkwesi decided to take it upon himself, that's Mould, Mr. Mould, that it's enough. So he took drinks, went to my father and engaged me on my behalf and came back and said, you're engaged. So, yeah, soon after I got married.
He engaged you to somebody you didn't know.
Oh, no. That's why I'm saying while I was in that Okoshi, that's when my relationship with my present husband developed.
So he went and did the engagement on your behalf?
On my behalf.
Didn't,
And told me afterwards.
So what did your dad say?
Okay. Well, then he wanted to meet him. So now my husband went to school in an expensive school in England and speaks the Queen's English.
Naturally.
But he's got this Lebanese name.
Yeah.
So he probably was expecting some Arab-speaking person to come and ask for his daughter's hand. And my father walked in and started speaking. Actually, my husband walked in and had a chat with my father, speaking the Queen's English. So all my father apparently could do was, yes, fine, of course, yes. So, Walid was saying that, well, don't I need to bring, no, it's fine, you marry her. And that was it. So, but meanwhile, I had moved out.
Yeah.
Okay. So I went to, I then came to visit my father and said, look, whatever has happened between the two of us, can it be water under the bridge? And since I'm going to get married, it's best I marry from home. And he says, good. I said, it's up to you. It's fine. So I moved back into my father's house and I warned Walid. I said, you better hurry up with this wedding because I can't stay here for much longer. So I think within 6 months we got married.
What was the wedding like?
Well, my father was Chief Justice, so you can imagine what it was like.
Crowd.
It was all
and the Jibstonians,
Is that?
The Jibstonians came.
Of course. Oh, there's another story there. So all the diplomatic corps was there, and all the judiciary was there, and all the everythings were there. And Achampong was head of state.
Yeah.
And so his wife came to represent him, and my father wanted her to help me cut the cake. I said, no way. I don't know the woman. Why should she help me cut my cake? My mother's sister, the one who made her into a communist, she came and she cut the cake.
I see.
And so, yes, and in the morning, my father's twin sister came ready for the day, and she comes in through the gate swinging a bucket. So she's singing. So, in other words, she's brought the bucket. This is her takeaway. So my father told the guards at the gate, take that bucket off my sister.
His twin sister.
His twin sister.
This is incredible. I just love this story.
When I say bucket, I mean paint bucket.
I know. So you got married, and then you said
married.
12 years, and then
And
you
then
had...
I fell pregnant, and I had my son.
Yes.
Yes. It's called Ebu, born on a Tuesday.
Right. That's a good time to be born.
Okay.
I'm a Bo too, so...
Oh, there you go. How do you spell yours?
My Ebo.
Yes.
There are two ways.
Yes.
You've got EBOW and
That's right.
EBO.
So I say, how do you spell yours?
No, I don't spell it because nobody calls me Ebo.
Okay.
So if you...
So you wouldn't know. Okay.
I wouldn't know. No.
I deliberately, my son has a lot of names.
Right.
According to Arabic culture, or Lebanese culture, let me be more specific, the first grandson is given the name of the grandfather. Okay. So my husband, Walid's father, Abdurrahman Akkad.
Okay.
So my son got this name, Abdurrahman.
Yeah.
And then I went to my father. I did the Ghanaian thing. Please give my son a name. So he gave him the name Azu because it was his first grandson. So he got Azu. Then I looked at it, Abdurrahman, Azu, and then Akkad. The mouth doesn't shut. So I said, I've got to soften this a bit. So I said Jason. So he's got the name Jason.
So it's Jason
Abdurrahman, Jason, Azu. And then because my husband is half Fanti from Elmina, hence W at the end.
Good place to come from too.
So I gave him the name Ebu.
Super. Your story is a fascinating story, and I'm glad I got you to tell us this thing. Because I mean, you know, sometimes you interview people and they're very straight-laced and they're telling you their story, and everything is, as you said, conformity. So you're a non-conformist, you're an iconoclast, as they say. Yeah. So what was married life like at that time? I mean, you know,
Actually,
you were talking about the Champong era where
yes,
there's ups and downs,
yes,
things
yes.
like that.
Oh, so Champong's cut short my father's time as Chief Justice.
All right.
My father was the Pro-Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast.
All right.
And in fact, he was other things as well. And whilst there, he endeared himself to the students. The Chancellor himself got into trouble with the students, and my father intervened and so on. And apparently
The Vice Chancellor.
The Vice Chancellor, sorry, yes.
And your father was the Chancellor.
I don't know what he was.
He was the Chancellor.
Oh,
because,
thank you. All right,
right.
there you go. Whatever it was, he intervened.
Yeah.
And the students, as the story goes, liked the way he did it. Now, you know, there was a lot of student agitation at some point. That's it.
Right.
So somewhere along the line, they marched to the castle and telling a Champong to step down and let's have a union government and so on, headed by the Chief Justice. Well, that didn't go down very well. So my father lost his job.
So when he lost his job, what did he do?
He retired. And he's of the old school. And he said, judges are not supposed to get involved in any kind of business. And that's where his wives, you know, my father came back from East Africa with another wife. Okay, so also my second stepmother.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't allow his wives to work, said because they may get, you know, corrupted. So these poor women who had careers had to stop. And he wouldn't acquire any property. He wouldn't do anything. He said, no, according to the rules and whatevers, when I retire, I'll be looked after. So, no. It's Parkwesi Mould, who was a real businessman of repute, who convinced him otherwise. So he got a loan. I remember because I had to, not my money, but through the rent, pay off the loan. Wasn't finished. The mortgage.
Yeah.
The mortgage. And built this house in airport. And thank God he did, because when a Champong made him, removed my father from office,
right.
He was put on a pension for, I may be wrong, but this is what I'm told, a pension of a officer in the, an official,
Civil service.
Clerk.
All right. A law clerk.
Yes, right. So his income was nothing to talk about. And meanwhile, also, Parkwesi had convinced him to, you have to have more than one house. So it's through my second son, Auntie Doris Martinson, the daughter of Bishop Martinson, who is from Akropong. Yeah. So they got this land on the Aburi Hill there and built, that one took it on, built the house there. So when a Champong removed my father, he went to a house which wasn't, we hadn't finished building it. There was no water, there was no electricity, there was no wall, he had no car, he had nothing. So that's where he went to go and stay. And we gradually built it up from the rent from the airport house. And but if it wasn't for Parkwesi, he would have had nothing, because he believed so much in the integrity and the rules and regulations of the civil service job that he would have been left in a terrible state. Anyway, my sister, I tried very hard to have this overturned, and they weren't minding me. But my sister came, and she's a tough cookie, and she was able to put the wrong right. So he was put on his proper retirement level for next Chief Justice, and all that they owed him from the time that he retired. So we got this lump sum of money, which we put into the account, yes.
All right. Now, we've been talking about all kinds of things. you've made a little incursion to married life and all that. You've got a son, Abu, Abdul Rahman, Azu, Jason, lovely, lovely. And I asked you about what Ghana was like, and you said you were cushioned away, a little cushioned.
But I do remember. Okay, what I do remember during was it a Champong's time where we had Rawlings Chain before Rawlings Chain?
No. Rawlings Chain was in Rawlings' time. That was in 83, 84.
When Rawlings came to power, we were having food problems. Though.
Yes, there was a famine. Remember, there was a drought in Ghana, and that's when the Rawlings came. And that was 83, 84. Champong was 79. He was removed in 78.
And
in 79, what do you call it? They had the June 4th, June 4, and then on September 28th, 1979, Liman took over. And that was the Third Republic, all right? And the Third Republic lasted until December 31st, 1981, all right? And then we had the PNDC years, and that's when Rawlings came in. And then 1983, 84, around there was a famine, a drought in Ghana, water levels came down, and then there was this hunger.
Yes, but that was a natural, in a sense, natural thing. But prior to that, we had shortages of food in the country.
That was the time that led to the 1979 June 4th coup. What the time of Kalabule and all that.
That wasn't a Champong signing cars with the green ink, that kind of thing.
Signing, yes.
The invoices.
And
But the point is that there was hardly anything in the shops.
Yes.
And when you
because they had a foreign exchange problem. Right.
And when we traveled, then we'd
bring back things.
We bring bread, toothpaste, basics of life.
That's when a lot of Ghanaians left and went into Nigeria.
That's right. Yeah. So I remember, because you know people, I could go to a shop, join the queue, and then get a carton of sardine and a carton of milk, and so you'd last on that. So I remember, contacts being, and then queuing up, and then getting these.
Were you working at the British High Commission then?
What year?
78.
Well, if that was time, then yes. But it wasn't British contacts; it was my Ghanaian contacts.
I see. Okay, because I realized that when I came back from Britain in 1981. And things were that tough. And I realized that most people had joined clubs like the Ghana Club and the Accra Lawn Tennis Club because they had allocations for beer and drink and things like that, because most of the money directors belonged to that. So the Ghanaian contacts were good.
Yes.
All right. So you're telling us about.
So that's what I remember of Ghana. It was not easy at all, but I think again cushioned because I knew the right people. So I didn't starve. No.
Right. So you're now a mother. You spent 9 years.
What
was it like? Why take a decision like that?
I think because I wanted my son to have him to have a mother, maybe subconsciously, to have a mother and to imbue in him my beliefs. But I think I've inherited my father's strictness.
Well,
that's probably why I'm so conflicted.
Well, I'm talking to a very fascinating lady, Margarita Crab-Akkad, who's an administrator, and she's been telling us a wonderful story that comes all the way from Jamestown to Britain back to Ghana, working for the British High Commission and she went to Achimota School. Lovely story, roundabout, but it's very, very interesting. Let's have some music.
Z 101.9 FM.
yeah. Originally from Sibisa, and now Yala has put a very beautiful touch to it. And that's a selection by my guest, Margarita Crabacad, who's been telling us her life story. And it's a great departure from the norm because she's got gems of very interesting things. When Rawlings took over in 1981, naturally it was what he called an eruption, and a lot of things happened. And in the course of the first 2 years, there was a murder of judges, and his reaction was to bring in an independent investigative team. And I think your father was brought in, and he came out with a report. We try as much as possible not to dwell on political events, but since you're here, your father went through quite a difficult patch. Can you tell us about it?
Very much so. Just to slot in here for the sake of the record, when my father was the Pro-Vice Chancellor, he was also on the University of Cape Coast. He was the chair of the University Council. So, I mean, he was very much involved in that aspect of life. My father was at a cocktail, and Jerry came up to him and said that he would like him to be made the head of the investigative board.
Yeah.
And my father accepted. And the family was in an uproar as to why would he do that? You know, it's dangerous. And they were saying also, you know, for example, you're living up the hill. You have no security. You have you're like a target. Why would you do that to yourself? And my father's response was that if somebody were to kill him, he would hope somebody would try to find out who killed him. So he's just doing the same for somebody else. And for all my father's faults, because he was a very strict person, it's probably why the Bar Association helped Champong to get rid of him. He was a very overly strict person. But as a result of this strictness, he was also, what is the word? Once he believed in you, or once he supported you, he was there to the death. You know?
He was loyal.
Very loyal. And to a fault. So he said if it's his time to go, if they want to come and bump him off, then they should just go ahead and do it. He's going to do what he wants to do.
Typical Ghana man,
Oh,
strong Ghana man.
There you go. So, yeah, so they'll send a car for him, bring him down, do what he has to do, and go back up the hill. So he stayed in that house. He didn't stay in Accra at all.
Yeah.
And nobody touched him. Stayed alive, he was fine. Until they started to try and destroy his reputation as a CIA agent and all that jazz. And then he resigned. He said, enough is enough. And something in that, well, I was his secretary, if you like. Any letters that went out, I'm the one who typed them. So I know about these letters. And in the letter to Jerry, or the castle, he ended it by saying, a good name is more desirable than great riches. To be esteemed is better than silver or gold. And I have that on his grave, on his headstone, just to show the way he thinks. And they came, and the people from the castle came to see me and said that they would like, could I make an appointment to visit the old man? I said, okay, set it up. And up we went in an entourage. And I remember sitting in the sitting room, my father sitting in this chair with his stern, stony face, and then I was sitting on the opposite side there, and then the castle people on either side. And then we just sat there. I said, Dad, they've come to see you. He said, yes. So I turned to the people and said, please, you need to tell him why you are here.
Mm-hmm.
And so they did. that they said they've come to apologize and to persuade him to come back and continue with the investigation. And he just said, I'll think about it. And they had to go away. I mean, the conversation was about 10 words. And I ended up being the one speaking the most. I said, look, you guys, if he was going to take a bribe or anything like that, all his children were all grown, we've all finished schooling, we're all married, we're all living our own lives.
What's he going to do with it?
So what's he going to do with it? He's got his own house, you can see. By that time we had a car. So what's the point? So anyway, they left. So in fact, I ended up being the one blasting them. And yes, he came back to finish off his job. And I was the one who typed the draft. Yeah.
Well, these are gems of history that I think should go into a book. But now let's come down to the present day. We've got problems. We've got an existential threat in Galamsey. We've got a time bomb with we've got a very high percentage of our population are very young people without jobs and things like that. At a certain time, I think you were running a school. What are your thoughts? I'm adding all that.
Yeah, you are. That's a lot of different things in the basket.
Yes.
Oh, is that my face? Anyway, so the thing is, I'd like to go back a bit, if you don't mind.
I'd like you to go back.
No, when I came out of retirement, so to speak, I was employed by a company called PHC Motors.
All right.
And I was the admin and HR manager. And it was a small company. They represented Chrysler and Dodge and so on. And they also had taken on a new franchise for Tata. So you had the very cheap cars at this end, expensive cars at that end. And the company grew in leaps and bounds. And I would like to believe that what my father has instilled in me, the sense of when you want to do a job, you do it properly, helped me through it. Because in the vehicle industry, the car industry, there are very few women. You won't find any women. And anywhere we went, I was the only woman in the room. And it's easy to be intimidated. And, well, I wasn't because of, again, of how I've been brought up. We're all equal. We all have brain power.
Right.
It's just the way you use it. So that got me through my time there. And that was a very big challenge. So after there, then I went to go and run the Tesano Sports Club. That again was a challenge. Oh my gosh, that was a challenge. So with all these experiences behind me, it's made me, going back to your question of there's so much woe in the world at the moment. I guess you want to know my thoughts on what's going on. Well, we're back to this business of leadership. You know, when you have good leadership, hopefully you get somewhere. At the moment, we seem to be meandering, but I'd like to see that there's a direction, and we just pray that the direction is the right direction. Too many of us are living in glass houses, afraid to throw a stone. There's too much build-up of negativity, and everybody fighting their corner to be able to say, right, let me just think of Ghana and the future and where it will take us. They're too busy making sure that their back is covered. And I don't know how we're going to get out of that cycle. Because too often, in my father's day, when he was in the court, if you misbehaved, first what he'd do is send you to the remote part of Ghana to go and be a judge in Paga or something like that. That was the punishment. But now, nobody's punished. Everybody's doing what they want to do, and nobody's taking
So there's impunity.
Yes.
Anyway, let's get away from that. Not because I want to change the tack, but one of the reasons why I invited you here is that you've been working very hard for your hometown, Jamestown, and you've been part of the Jamestown Noyakwe, which is an organization.
Jamestown Lishi Noyakwe.
All right, Jamestown Lishi Noyakwe. All right. Yeah. Okay. So what is it, and what are you doing?
Well, I'm the treasurer.
Right.
The treasurer who says 1 + 1 makes 3. But anyway, I'm the treasurer.
Right.
No, it's just a group of people
Right.
trying hard to do something for Jamestown, to bring Jamestown back to its original, what is the word, beauty or standard. I mean, in the old days, it was the girls were the civil servants, the girls were the first educated ones, if I may say so, or the fantasy.
The coastal people.
Coastal, that's better.
Yeah.
And we're going into trouble by saying that. So the coastal people. And, but have you noticed that, I don't know about the Fanties, but the girls, how many of them, when they've become somebody, have come back to Jamestown to build there?
Well, I'd like to ask you, I mean, Jamestown was a port. It was a surf port.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a harbor. The first harbor that we've had was in Takoradi. So it took away a lot of the jobs away from, and the importance of Jamestown to Takoradi. And we did nothing about the vacuum that was left.
Mm.
And I think that is what happened. All right. And most of the buildings in Jamestown, most of the properties were owned by the multinationals. UAC, look at those big warehouses and all that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we have to look at the land ownership, and we have to talk to the chiefs and things like that about it. But that is not why I'm here. I'm just adding something to it.
Well, yeah, but because you asked me what JTNNK is up to, and
Yeah.
it's a horrendous job. It's huge, and the main thing you can see when you go there. Have you recently? I'm sure you have. You live there,
I
right?
live there, yes.
The filth, and in the night, you can't drive. That's why I got into that trouble recently. You can't drive on, because it's as if all their stuff is in containers, and at night they bring it out.
Yeah.
So they bath, they cook, they bring out their chairs, their armchairs, and they sit on the road. The road disappears. It becomes an extension of their homes. And they seem to be living cheek by jowl, so many of them crammed into a small space. It's a horrendous job. But anyway, one has to start from somewhere.
That's right.
And there is a young man there who they made chief of something. And every 2 weeks, he cleans up a street. He takes a street and he cleans it up. Of course, by the next day, it's dirty again, but that's what he does. So JTNNK wants to get involved with him. But then there's something called Gamada, which has been set up.
Yes. Gamashi Development Association, I think. That's Gamada.
Yes. And they're actually now seriously coming together. They brought JTNNK into it. And they're really trying to come up with what to do with Jamestown and make it a jewel of the area. So I think we'll get there one day.
Are you inviting people of Jamestown who've made it, who've gone out, to come back and be part of the association?
It's one of the it's on the agenda for JTNNK. Yes, we're going to have what do you call it? A town
hall meeting.
Yes.
All right. Okay. We've been talking, or I've been talking to Margarita Krabakad, who was born in Ghana. Am I right?
Yes.
Born Accra.
Ridge Hospital.
Ridge Hospital, yes. Of a Ghana father and an English mother. She spent her first 5 years in Accra. and then she went to school, primary school in Britain, in England, in Hertfordshire, and then came back and went to the famous Achimota School. And she told us about the things she got up to. Then, after Achimota, she trained to be a secretary. She told us about the places she'd gone to and worked and all that, and some of the experiences and gems of excitement that she came across and everything. And she got married, how she got married, and married an Arab Fanti man, and she has an Arab-English Fanti son.
Yes. Yes.
Called Abu Abdul Rahman Azul
Jason.
She's played, so she's had a great selection of music from Jimi Hendrix, Bisakade, Uyala, and Michael Jackson. And what's the next one? Santana. Black Magic Woman, yes.
Z 101.9 FM.
Santana. And just as an aside, Santana was in Ghana for Soul to Soul, and it was a fantastic experience. I was there. Did you go?
Oh, yes.
It was unbelievable.
Yes.
Yeah, we had Wilson Pickett, we had the Staple Singers, the Voices of East Harlem.
Ike and Tina Turner.
It was something in Santana, and then we had Amwa Zanjo, who played with Les Buchan, the guy from the Upper East region, the Frafra man.
Oh, okay.
Remember?
No, I don't
he became
actually.
a big star as a result of that.
Okay.
Anyway, so I understand why you chose Santana. Very good music. Before we go, I'd like us to go into the children of today. You've been helping in a school. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. Again, as I'm sorry I tend to do, is that talking about a feature of Achimota
Yeah.
is the Fridays cultural, um, tribal dancing, as we called it.
Yeah.
And you didn't have to go to your own tribal. You could go to another one. But we learnt how to sing and dance culturally.
Yeah.
And if you go now to a Founders Day, the show that we put on, no other school can do it.
Yeah.
One of the things Achimota is famous for, and it's instilled in us, is this culture thing, which I think is fantastic. Yes. And then also, I'm an administrator. So that time when I was in Form 2, whenever it was, when I said I'll be a secretary, it's as if I knew that I had the character for running things. I think that's what I do best, to make sure things run properly. So now I'm in this school as a consultant, administrative consultant. And it's a school for the financially deprived. I think that's the correct political term.
Okay. Vulnerable.
Well, in other words, they don't have any money.
Yes.
And the place is been there for a long time. It was a creche set up by the Amatefio family.
Right.
Many years back, opened by Madame Fatah Nkrumah at that time. And it was called Kanishi Daycare Center. Right now, the name's been changed to Edifort, which stands for the names of the parents. The parents, and Edith and Fortescue or something. So Edifort Memorial School, and we've tried to make the school, the ambience. It's clean, it's bright, there's flowers all over the place. It's different. It's like an oasis in the middle of Kanishim.
Right.
And with the market just down the road. And the parents come in and they like what they see. They always say that they like what they see. And so they have this, you can tell, they have this desire to do something for their children. But really they can't. It takes...
So how do you fund it if the parents are financially,
well,
challenged?
It's a problem. It's a problem. It's a serious problem. How it didn't help with that 1 year for the COVID,
Right.
where there was no income coming in. We manage, but we could do so much better if we had the funding. But we manage. But the important thing, just like if you're poor, it doesn't mean to say you have to be dirty.
Right.
So the little that the school has is well maintained, it's clean, it's bright, it's nice. But we don't have all the other resources which perhaps more expensive schools have. But and we were very serious about there's no caning. When a child misbehaves, you reason with the child. And that's a difficult one, because we have even the parents coming to say that, look, my child misbehaves, you can cane him whenever you like. We said, we can't do that. But the child is conflicted, because all they know is, the only thing they know for being told to stop is to be hit. And we don't do that. So they have to learn how to control their bad behavior by listening to the reasoning, the teacher reasoning. And the teachers also get frustrated, because let's face it, they're brought up from homes where they're beaten. It's tradition, caned for whenever you misbehave. But anyway, small catch monkey, as they say. We'll get there in the end. So this is a little school, small school, trying hard. It's like an oasis.
How many members? How many people?
Before COVID, we were 100 and something.
Mm-hmm.
We're now 50.
Oh, why?
Because nobody has any money.
And have you
And
gone out for...
you've got all these government schools where it's free.
Yeah.
Why would they have to pay for education when they can get it free? Even though when the children leave our school, and one thing I'll say about this school is all laughter. You don't hear anybody crying. They're always having a great time. I mean, I sometimes sit there looking at them thinking, they're jolly lucky. Not everybody gets joy out of going to school. And I think our children do. And they leave the school where there's the most in the school is in a classroom is 10. In the preschool it's 15, but in the primary school it's 10. And then they go to a school, they go to JSS with 60 in a classroom.
Yeah.
And I keep on telling the children, look, you're jolly lucky where you've got this one-to-one with your teacher. Make the most of it, because you're going to go to a school where the teacher probably doesn't even know what you look like. So what I tell them, strategy, sit at the front, so at least the teacher will see you and you can hear the teacher. I don't know how they're learning, to be frank with you. I don't know how they do it. But I know that in this school, they're doing Ga, they're doing French, and whatever else it takes to get a decent basic education.
Margarita Krabakad, it's been incredible talking to you. I found it very difficult trying to get you to sit in this chair. You said you had nothing to say, and you've got so much to say. You've done so many things in your life. I think that you're very much someone who could mentor a lot of the young people in this country. I believe that one of the solutions to the problems we have in Ghana is mentorship. That if you've had the opportunity and you've had the privilege of being looked after or attaining a certain standard in life, you should pass it on. And that's very, very important. And that's one of the reasons why we have this program. I have a story to tell, because I want to send the message out. The other day I had a young man here called William Plange, who's got an NGO, and it's called No Human Being is Useless. Mm-hmm. And he made a great case for it. And I believe very strongly in that. And I think that through this program, we can pass on lessons in life. Not everything can be done in conformity. Not everything can be done along straight lines. People actually fall and rise. People sometimes are lost and they're found and all that. So it's a wonderful experience, and I'm very, very grateful that you honored my invitation. And your story is a wonderful story. So
well, also kudos to you, because when you first asked me, I said, what have I got to talk about? I can't see anything interesting in what I've done. But the way you couch your questions and so on, okay, you've made me see that perhaps I do have something to say. Maybe not much, but I do have something to say.
I'm very grateful. Thank you very much. And
thank you also.
Would have the last song.
What's my last song? Okay, try her. Happy Note.
Z 101.9 FM.
this very evening with the vivacious, dynamic, and ebullient Margarita Krabakad, who's been telling us her story. And I know there's a lot more, but 2 hours is a lot. We've had music from Jimi Hendrix, Uyala, Bisakede, Katrina, Michael Jackson, and it's
And
been
if there was
fascinating.
more time, I would add Daddy Lumba with Abin Woho.
All right.
Abin Woha.
We'll finish with that. We'll finish with that.
Just to
You
show that I'm a
mentioned-
Ghanaian.
Yeah, you mentioned Daddy Lumba, who sadly passed away. And this week is a sad week because both of us have lost a very dear friend in Mrs. Rawlings. And I'd like to use this opportunity to extend my condolences to the Rawlings family and the Allied family, and to all Ghanaians that we've lost a very special woman. Whatever you think, she was a wonderful, she made a great impact on our society. And so, Margarita, thank you very much for coming on the program. And next week, same time, same station, ZFM 101.9. The program is I Have a Story to Tell. We have the wonderful Lamisi, who is a singer, an entertainer, and also has an NGO, and she'll be telling us her story. That's next week, same time, same program. I Have a Story to Tell, and it's Lamisi. But right now, I can say goodbye to our wonderful guest, Margarita Krabakad.
Thanks, Fritz.
All right,
Thank
so
you.
you can play Abinwa, good night, or goodbye, and see
See you.
soon.
Yeah.
You're tuned in to Z 101.